management review according to ISO 14001:2015. My name is Pereira da Cruz, and I'm an author at 𝗣𝗲𝗴𝗶𝘀. I do quite a lot of ISO 14001 consulting and training, but also auditing as lead auditor. So today I'm going to share with you my thoughts about management review. My presentation will last approximately 40 minutes, after which we'll have a 20-minute question and answer session. If you have a question, you don't have to wait for the Q&A session. You can ask it during my presentation. Of course, I'll also answer all of your remaining questions during the Q&A session. We will later send you an email with a link to the recording of this webinar and to the list of articles mentioned, okay? Let's see. Okay, so management review is one of the most important contributions of an effective EMS, environmental management system, to top management. It's a very transparent way of showing top management leadership. And management review is much more than a meeting. So when we speak about management review, most of the time we think in a meeting, but it's much more than a meeting. It's a complete process with inputs, several steps, and outputs. And in this webinar, we will show you how to prepare, execute, and follow up on a management review. So this webinar is specifically designed for professionals involved in environmental management systems, including management representatives and consultants. So let's see the agenda for today. So we'll discuss the following topics. So first, we will give an overview of the purpose of the management review. Then we will check clause 9.3, the requirements of clause 9.3. Then we'll speak about management review as a process, not just a meeting. Afterwards, we will look into the inputs. So ISO 14001 is very prescriptive about the inputs. Then we will speak about the decisions, and then move into the outputs of the management review. And finally, we'll present the main challenges of management review according to questions received by email before this webinar. Okay, so let's go to the first topic about the purpose. Okay, so and I like to start with that head with two faces. So the Romans had a god named Janus, from whom the name January for the first month of the year originates. And Janus was the god of bridges, gateways, and transitions. Transitions, a magic word, often depicted with a head bearing two faces. So I encourage organizations to view the management review as a symbolic bridge connecting the past, the present, and the future. So today, we assess both our current context and the gap between our actual and desired performance. To understand how we arrived at this point, we reflect on our past decisions and the performance challenges we set for ourselves. Those decisions were made based on the knowledge available at that time. By examining the difference between the past and today, we aim to extract lessons that will assist us in making better decisions for the future. Okay. Now, what is the purpose of a management review? Let's begin with the end in mind. Read what ISO 14001 says about management review outputs. It starts with something like, the outputs of the management review should include conclusions on the continuing suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness of the environmental management system. So, look into the past. What can your organization learn from last year? Do you have an effective environmental management system? So, does your EMS achieve its objectives? Do you have an adequate EMS? Does your EMS has all the necessary elements to function correctly? Do you have a suitable EMS? Does your EMS still fit the organization needs? So, I always remember the management system definition. For me, it's very, very important. So, about working to meet objectives aligned with a policy. So this article, so later you can check this article. So ensuring that environmental objectives are aligned with the company's strategic direction. So can be useful for reading later, okay? Another article that you can check later is how to measure the effectiveness of your EMS according to ISO 14001:2015. Okay. Okay. Now let's distill the requirements from ISO 14001 clause 9.3. So conducting reviews at planned intervals allows for consistent tracking and comparison of EMS performance over time. So this helps identify trends, measure improvements, and detect issues early. Okay, and also to make comparing things that you can compare, apples with apples, oranges with oranges. Yeah, so prepare a set of inputs, so ensure relevant data is available for informed decision making, so data about performance, compliance, risks. Then evaluate and discuss the inputs, perform decision making. So analyze data, identify trends, and make strategic decisions to improve the EMS. Okay, you evaluate and discuss. Now prepare a set of outputs, including the conclusions, decisions, and actions. So define clear actions, responsibilities, and improvements based on the review. Top management. Top management plays a critical role. So leadership ensures commitment, resource allocation, and alignment with business objectives. A myth about management review is something like all senior management should be present at the annual meeting. Well, for large organizations, it is unlikely that all senior managers will be present at these meetings. However, the information should be made available for comments and decision-making when appropriate. Okay, and retain evidence of the management review results. So maintain documented proof of reviews, decisions, and actions for accountability and compliance. Well, you can check this article later. So what are the responsibilities of top management in the EMS according to ISO 14001? And another article is how to demonstrate leadership according to ISO 14001. Okay, you see here, whoa, what is, okay, oops, let me take this one out. Here, just checking here. Okay. Now, let's see. Let's come. Okay. So, about the schedule and distribution, okay, of topics throughout the year. Okay. Now, 2 myths about management review are: there must be one annual management review, and the other one is management review should address all inputs in one meeting. No, we may have more than one management review per year. By the way, I prefer that. And another no, we may schedule different inputs into different management reviews throughout the year. Often, scheduling an annual management review where we attempt to cover everything in a brief time frame leads to a superficial review, and this is often, let us say, a recipe for failure. Instead, we can schedule the management review for, well, 4 times a year to align with each quarter. We can distribute various topics, okay, for each session and ensure that the EMS management cycle aligns with the business financial management cycle. Without this alignment, the EMS management review is likely to end up as a mere discussion, because you'll make decisions, but then there will be no money to implement those decisions. So some topics, as you can see here, some topics are reviewed at every meeting, others every 6 months, and some only annually. So a good practice is to conduct management reviews regularly, so reinforcing their significance and ensuring continued focus on the effectiveness of the management system. By the way, attention, this is just an example, and the distribution of topics may not be the best for your organization, okay? Now, Jane asked, is there a recommended frequency for carrying out the management reviews? So is there a recommended frequency? Well, ISO 14001 does not prescribe a specific frequency for conducting management reviews. True. However, it mandates that they must be carried out at planned intervals, okay? But the organization must determine the appropriate frequency based on its size, complexity, environmental impacts, and business needs. However, and that's important, while ISO 14001 itself doesn't explicitly mandate a fixed frequency, certification bodies, okay? Certification bodies require at least one management review per year as a contractual obligation to maintain certification. So if you want to be certified or maintain your certification, you need to do a management review at least once per year, okay? Not because it's in the standard, but because it's in the contract with your certification body. Okay, so let's see now management review as a process, okay? And this is very important. So a management review is not a meeting, is much more than a meeting. It's a whole process. So in a management review process, one can identify 4 stages. So the preparation, before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting or follow-up. Let's see the preparation, okay? So at planned intervals, the organization must consider several inputs of information and data to evaluate the performance and effectiveness of the EMS. Planned intervals mean that the time between the management review should be determined in advance. It can be annual, quarterly, or monthly reviews, okay? That way, top management can make relevant performance comparisons, okay? Inputs are related to requirements from several clauses of ISO 14001, including the status of actions identified or determined during previous management reviews. The inputs should be used to sense the situation, okay? They should be analyzed, and analyze means that you don't present raw data, no. We sort, we classify, summarize, calculate, correlate, present, chart, or otherwise translate the original raw data into meaningful information for those who will evaluate, okay? Now, still before the meeting, this is the preparation, before the meeting, let's see, meeting time is too expensive and should be used wisely. So use it for discussions and decisions, not for long presentations. So after preparation and before the meeting, an agenda should be prepared and sent to participants together with the input information, a kind of management review report, okay? And participants should study the information before the meeting, okay? Now, during the meeting, after reviewing input data, a management review meeting gathering top management, only now top management is gathered, should occur to discuss results, draw conclusions, synthesize, and decide on course of action. Decisions and discussions are based on accurate and relevant data, ensuring that conclusions and actions are grounded in reality. So there's an emphasis on constructive, open communication where different opinions are valued and feedback is actively thought and addressed, okay? Now, decisions, conclusions, now comes the after the meeting or follow-up. So develop and approve action plans to implement decisions. So we expect actions to be implemented, okay? So in the next management reviews, we will check the progress of the action plans and results. Now, the organization should keep records, okay? Without records, organizations have no memory, and without memory, organizations can't learn. By the way, this one here is mandatory. This record here is mandatory, okay? Now, I leave you here a link to the article, The Importance of Management Review in the ISO 14001 Process. And another link is to the article, What is Evaluation of Compliance and How to Do It According to ISO 14001, okay? So, yeah, management review as a process. Let's see some more detail, some more information regarding each meeting. So each meeting with 4 moments. Okay, so the outputs of preparation are an agenda for the meeting and the information about the topics already analyzed. What I call there in the image, the report. Now, before the meeting, number 2, the input evaluation is done. The meeting, number 3, is to discuss, make conclusions, and make decisions. And the output of the meeting is the management review meeting minutes. And during the follow-up, decisions must be translated into action plans or studies that hopefully will be translated into action. Yeah. Now, if you check clause 9.3, you will read, the management review shall include consideration of, and then comes a long list of inputs. So what is the meaning of consideration here? So consideration does not necessarily mean that every input must lead to a decision or action. Instead, management must review and assess the relevance, significance, and impact of each input in the context of the organization's performance and continual improvement. Now, failure to consider an input, that means ignoring it completely, would be a non-conformity for sure. But simply presenting an input without necessarily making changes, so if no issues or opportunities are found, is acceptable. So in the report, include information regarding every input and a statement saying that if any change is needed, if any decision is needed. But in the agenda, we only list the inputs that need some decisions, that need changes, okay? That way, we don't occupy precious time in the meeting presenting topics that, okay, we don't need to, there's no need for decisions, everything is okay, or, yeah. Okay, now, so this is about the process. Let's go into the inputs. So use ISO 14001 as an orientation to the main topics to cover with the inputs. During the meeting, you only need to consider those that deserve attention, okay? Don't forget that. But all topics are included in the inputs, okay? In the report to management review. Now, who is going to prepare this information? So the responsibility for compiling data analysis reports and agenda inclusion, okay? So the environmental manager or environmental management representative or an assigned team usually compiles these reports, okay? The report should be an important part of the meeting agenda, okay? Ensuring that relevant topics are presented and relevant topics are discussed during the management review meeting. So while addressing current issues, this review also considers the long-term strategy and objectives of the organization, okay? Now, how to prepare for management review. So gather and analyze relevant data on environmental performance, compliance status, objectives, risks, and improvement initiatives, okay? Review previous management review meetings minutes and action plans to assess progress. Yesterday, I was in a meeting where one of the persons was saying, "Oh, our management review starts with this topic." So the decisions from the previous management reviews, and they have a kind of status report of who is better behaved, so that those that are able to comply with all the action items, and those that are delayed. That was funny. And prepare documentation related to audit findings, corrective actions, and continual improvement efforts. Now, ensure, ensure all stakeholders involved in environmental management are aware of their roles and responsibilities, okay? Management review should be based on facts, okay? So learn to love the fact-based approach. So any management review needs to be based on facts. It is necessary to gather sufficient information and data to provide a sound basis for the review. I will show you an example right away. So the input should be that which is needed to make a decision on the effectiveness of the system. Don't just collect the data and make a tick in your management review input list like punching the clock. No, be demanding, be curious, and search for learning. Remember, participants are not specialists, so it is not the place for details. Focus on the big picture, trends and patterns. The meeting is for making decisions. Don't forget that. So simplify your message. When you are trying to convey the big picture, it's important to simplify your message. Focus on the main idea and avoid getting bogged down in details. So, for example, if you are discussing audits or the audit, the big picture about the internal audits, this is not the forum for discussing how to close a non-conformity, okay? No, but this is the forum to present or to discuss why we are not closing non-conformities within the time frame that is set for each non-conformity. Now, okay, so use visual aids, okay, like diagrams, graphs and charts to help illustrate your point. This can be a powerful tool for conveying complex ideas in a simple and easy to understand way, and translate what you think are risks and opportunities into top management language. Show them the pain, actual or potential. So something like money in terms of potential fines, money in terms of extra costs, money in terms of customers lost. Now, an article that you can check later is the management representative still the best option to coordinate the EMS according to ISO 14001:2015? And another one is this another one is this interesting text about what is lost in translation between management system people and top management, okay? The article is about ISO 9001, but I can promise you that it is quite applicable to ISO 14001:2. The article is called Bridging the Gap Between Management, the communication gap with top management in the context of ISO 9001, okay? Now, you will find the procedure regarding management review and other necessary documents in our ISO 14001 Premium Toolkit. Let me show you how it looks like, okay? So let me see here. So this is the list of all the documents that we have in our documentation toolkit. So procedures, annexes, forms, like guidelines here. So for management review, okay, we have this one here. So let me show you this procedure for management review. It's something like this, okay? So it's in this case, it's a Word file that you can customize completely. You have here some hints, some suggestions, some ideas about how to fill this. So you can, as I said, you can customize this document. Okay, and you have here all the topics, the management review methods, the time, the frequency or the schedule. You have information, about how to conduct a management review, what are the methods, the frequency, the inputs, okay? So this is our procedure for the management review. Let's see an example of a form, a template for data analysis report. So when you can be sure that the information is prepared for the management review. So again, this is customizable. You have here some suggestions, some help here, this side. And another one is this one, okay? So management review minutes, okay, where you have here several topics, and you have here, again, a template to help you prepare information and to record information or record decisions, record what is here as the output in the management review, okay? So you can see the details of this toolkit here. I will publish now the link for the toolkit. Okay. Let's see. Let's go let's see an example, okay? Let's see an example about the inputs. So let's see an example of what can be prepared as part of the inputs to a management review, okay? So it's just a part. So we start by reviewing the status of previous actions. So in this case, the corrective actions implemented in the last review were successful, good, fantastic. Last quarter, the environmental monitoring system was upgraded, great, the action was closed. Now, let us see the example of an input, so context. So, a new legislation is coming. Government regulation reducing allowed solids air emission limits by 30% will be effective in 2 years. And we have a risk assessment. So if no action is taken, the company will be out of compliance 40% of the time. So potentially leading to fines, reputational damage, and production shutdowns. So this is an example. By the way, I leave here a link to an article on a topic that small, medium enterprises working in Europe or with Europe have to consider in the management review, okay? So what is corporate sustainability reporting directive, okay? And is it applicable to smaller companies? This is the kind of topic that perhaps 1 year ago or small, medium enterprises should be considering in the management review, okay? Now, so we have this input for the management review, okay? New legislation, this risk assessment. Let's continue. More information is added. Compliance, performance, and environmental data, okay? So current emissions levels are trending near the current limit. The projections are that without changes, the company will not meet future regulations. And so this example highlights proactive environmental management, the key principle of ISO 14001 and good business practice. Instead of waiting for problems to occur, the EMS manager is determining risks early and giving leadership time to make informed decisions, okay? For example, another example could be those forever chemicals, okay? Sooner or later, okay, in some countries, they will be forbidden. Is your company, if your company works with those kind of chemicals, is doing something? Now, and also this, so the company has a challenge and a good EMS manager presents solutions, not just problems. Good EMS managers don't just say, oh, there's a problem. No, they bring options and recommendations, okay? This way, they engage leadership proactively. Top management needs time to review and decide. So early presentation of these informations allows strategic planning, okay? Now, okay, look at this. So this is information prepared, included in the report. But let us see first the agenda, okay? So prepare a management review agenda. So communicate the date, venue, communicate who will attend. Good management reviews involve key stakeholders, so from various levels of the organization, encouraging diverse perspectives and comprehensive understanding. List agenda items and estimate the amount of time needed for each. Present agenda items as questions that must be answered. Okay, this way you present purposefully, not just going through the motions. No, we know we are talking about these compliance obligations because we need to face this problem in the future that we'll have with new limits for the solids, for example, okay? Or we have a problem with closing the non-conformities in the internal audits. That's another example, okay? Now, provide links to where attendants can study the documentation prepared, so the report. Remember that attendants must arrive at the meeting with their studies done. So this, again, time is too precious to be used to present information that could have been reviewed before. This implies that the agenda and the information should be sent well before the management review. And identify who is responsible for leading each item. A well-prepared agenda sets the stage for a productive review. Okay, without proper planning, meetings risk becoming long and unfocused rather than action-driven. I know you know, the first 5 topics take, well, 2 hours. Okay, the last 5 topics take 5 minutes. No, so we prepare the inputs, we prepare the agenda, we send that this information. Now, regarding that solids, the air emissions, the solids in the air emissions, let's see. Now we go to the management review meeting, okay? Time for discussion and review, discussion and decisions. So now it's time to move into the core of the management review meeting, discussion and decision making. A productive management review should focus on evaluating key information and making well-informed decisions. So here's how this process unfolds. Identify key issues and risks based on the inputs, determine what requires immediate action. So we must act, must align with. So weigh different options, review alternative solutions, considering feasibility, costs, and risks. Okay. So there's no, in this, the solution, the wet scrubber or the baghouse filter, or there's no easy solution in this case. There's, constraints, what will be the best one? And encourage informed decision-making, yeah. So in this case, we need to collect additional data. So management should base decisions on fact-based analysis, not just assumptions. Yeah, I know, get analysis sometimes is important, but collect additional data when needed, okay? And now we go to the preparation of the outputs, okay? So a good management review meeting, like in this example, results in decisions, okay? In this case, so electrostatic precipitator upgrade seems to be the best option, but requires additional data, okay? A decision postponed until the next meeting in 2 months. So a good management review results in decisions and clear action items with assigned responsibilities and deadlines, ensuring accountability and follow through. So we need this information, who is responsible, what is the deadline? Okay, so action-oriented outcomes. Now, so a good management review meeting focus on identifying opportunities for improvement and learning from both successes and failures. Record the outputs of the management review meeting by documenting key decisions, actions, and findings in a formal management review report or meeting minutes. These records should include a summary of discussions on the environmental management system's performance, compliance status, and any need for changes or improvements. Ensure it captures conclusions regarding resource needs, responsibilities for action items, and deadlines. Okay, now follow-up actions after management review. So develop detailed action plans for addressing identified improvement areas or necessary changes to enhance the EMS. Allocate resources, assign responsibilities for each action item to specific individuals or departments. Set clear timelines and deadlines for completing action items. And regularly monitor progress on action items and review their implementation status in subsequent management review meetings. Remember, okay, the true value of a management review lies in its outcomes, okay? So documentation, follow-up, and accountability are critical to maintaining an effective and compliant environmental management system. By the way, Renato asked, should the management review minutes specifically have an entry on the output topics? Yes. Clause 9.3 requires management review minutes to include specific entries on outputs such as decisions and conclusions related to opportunities for improvement, changes needed in the EMS, and resources needed. Okay, resource needed. Yeah. So so preparation, decisions, discussions and decisions, and outputs. Now what comes? Let's see the main challenges. Okay, so based on the emails that I received before this webinar, these are the most challenging topics. Okay, so first one is reviewing an integrated management system. Okay, I present a slide about this topic and answer to 3 questions during the Q&A. An integrated management system should not be seen as an overwhelming task, but as an opportunity to align environmental performance with business objectives. Okay, the key is to ensure synergy. Okay, synergy is the magic word across different standards. Okay, the other topic was other challenges, including climate change. Also, I have 2 slides about that during the Q&A. So addressing climate change in management reviews is not just about compliance, it's about future-proofing your organization. Yeah. And documenting relevant outputs. Okay, management review outputs should be more than just meeting minutes. They should drive meaningful action. The key is to ensure that documented outputs reflect key decisions, opportunities for improvement, and necessary resource allocations. And the management review frequency. Okay, so determining the right frequency for management reviews depends on the complexity of your organization and the dynamic nature of environmental factors. Okay, so when you're doing a management review, you are looking into the rear view mirror. So okay, of your car, like in your car. Okay, you are looking to information of something that already happened. And if you only do this once per year, okay, and you want to make a decision, and so you are only using lagging indicators, so it's too late. No, there's nothing to do. Okay, there's no option. It's already there. Okay, yeah. By the way, I would like to remember you about some crimes against management review. Okay, lack of preparation and involvement. Okay, ignoring negative feedback or data. Some organizations, people, okay, want to focus just on the positive side and put the negative things. You know, they hide negative things. Failure to follow up on actions is perhaps the most is the worst crime of all. And people that consider management review just as a formality, not a necessity. And this also, yeah, not good. So I leave here a link for an article. One article is how to perform the management review for an ISO 45001, 14001, and 9001 integrated management system. And I leave here also the link for the recording of the last webinar, how to integrate 9001 and ISO 14001. Okay. So let's go to the conclusions. Yep. So to conclude, so the purpose of the management review as outlined in clause 9.3 of ISO 14001 is to evaluate the organization's environmental management system. It involves top management assessing the system's suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness in achieving environmental objectives and targets. So the management review aims to ensure continual improvement. Okay, identify opportunities for improvement and address any necessary changes or corrective actions to drive environmental performance and meet compliance obligations. And to help you with all that, you can use 𝗣𝗲𝗴𝗶𝘀's ISO 14001 Premium Documentation Toolkit. So here's the link with more details. And I'll also send you now the meeting link to schedule a call with our toolkit expert. Okay, He'll explain you how Toolkit works and show you any document you'd like to see. Okay, so here's the Toolkit expert meeting link. Okay, let's go to the Q&A. Okay, by the way, I leave here the links for some courses, okay? The Foundations, ISO 14001 Foundations course, the Internal Auditor course, and the Lead Auditor course, okay? Now, Q&A. But before we begin with the Q&A, just to mention that you can also ask me anything about ISO 14001 directly. Just send me an email and I'll answer as quick as I can. And if you have to leave before this Q&A session is over, please do fill in the short survey that will open right after you leave the webinar. For those that join through LinkedIn and YouTube, you will receive also that survey. Okay, so let's see the question. So first question, Dina asked, do you include your management review for ISO 9001 and ISO 14001 in the same meeting? I'd say yes, you can include the management review for ISO 9001 and ISO 14001 in the same meeting, okay? As long as all required inputs for both standards are addressed, okay? Beware, effectiveness, doing the right thing, is more important than efficiency, doing things quickly, okay? Some organizations, because they have different people working with quality and environment, perhaps in some organizations could be useful, effective to have different management reviews, but most of the time, I think having a common, an integrated management review is the best solution, okay? Now, Reich, I don't know, asked, what is the difference in ISO 14001 management reviews compared to those from ISO 9001? Well, ISO 14001 management reviews focus on environmental performance, so it means performance, environmental performance, compliance obligations, and environmental objectives, okay? While ISO 9001 reviews focus more on product or service quality, customer satisfaction, and process effectiveness. So it's interesting that ISO 9001 mentions in an indirect way, okay, for example, compliance obligations, or in clause 7.5.3, something like that, yeah, regarding the external documents, yeah. So let's see another question. This about the Ergin asked, what are some tips for delivering management review for integrated systems? So, well, these are some tips, okay? So align the common elements, so identify overlapping requirements like objectives, performance evaluation, non-conformities, and continual improvement. So use a single agenda that covers shared elements across the standards. Structure the meeting efficiently, so use a combined approach, but segment discussions to meet each standard specific needs. So group similar topics, you know, risks and opportunities for all standards, compliance obligations, for example, for 14001 and 45001. Ensure comprehensive inputs, so this means include required inputs from clause 9.3 of each standard. Focus on effectiveness, not just compliance, okay? Evaluate whether the IMS, the integrated management system, is achieving its intended results, not just checking off requirements. Assign responsibilities clearly, okay? Keep records and document outputs. Use data trends and for decision making. In the case, so for ISO 45001, don't forget to ensure worker and stakeholder involvement, and okay, use technology for efficiency. Okay, let's see. Let's go back here. There's another question now. Pauline Pauline asked, how does climate change factor in the management review for ISO 14001? So how does climate change factor in the management review? Yeah, this is a question that is coming in the last webinars. Okay, so in the context of the management review, these changes necessitate organizations. So first, look into clause 4.1, evaluate climate change impacts. So assess how climate change affects internal and external issues pertinent to the EMS, including potential risks and opportunities. Okay, this is the in theory. Okay, see if there is anything that related with climate change that can affect your internal or external context. Okay, then consider interested parties' expectations. Identify and address climate-related requirements and expectations from interested parties, such as regulators, customers, and the community. And you see, for example, if there are customers asking information regarding what is called scope 3, scope 3 emissions, though they want they need, because they are bigger companies and they have you as a supplier, and they need information regarding the CO2 emissions from your operations. And then integrate these findings into the EMS, so to see if these are relevant, and if they are relevant, you need to integrate this in your EMS. Let's see two examples. One is here. So a manufacturing company operating in a coastal region conducts its management review and identifies an increase in extreme weather events like hurricanes and flooding due to climate change. This is assessed as a significant external issue. Okay. Well, the action taken by the company decides to implement additional flood protection measures, revise its emergency preparedness plans, and explore alternative suppliers to mitigate potential disruptions. Okay. And as a result, these measures improve the organization's resilience and ensure continuity while complying with ISO 14001 requirements. Another example is something like this. A company producing consumer goods reviews interested parties' expectations, clause 4.2, and finds that investors and major retail customers are demanding carbon reduction commitments. So, action taken, the company sets a target to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 30% over the next 5 years and incorporates renewable energy sources into its operations. Okay, so the management review process ensures that climate-related expectations from interested parties are integrated into strategic planning, strengthening compliance with ISO 14001 and improving sustainability performance. And by the way, I'll leave you a link to an article called Climate Action Change Amendment in ISO Standards. Okay. And okay, I think there's no more questions right now. Yeah. Okay, so there's no more questions. Well, let's go. Let's wrap up and end this one. Okay, so I think I've covered all of your questions. So let's wrap up the webinar. So just a few words before we finish. As I mentioned, this 1 hour webinar, well, in this case, 50 minutes, was intended to give you a general overview of the management review, okay? Not to go into a detailed discussion. For that, please take a look at our blogs and articles. You can ask me anything about ISO 14001 directly by email. You can also download this presentation deck from our website or take a look at video tutorials and documentation templates. We'll send you the email with all the necessary links, okay? Finally, if you join this webinar through Zoom, we'll send you a short survey. So I will kindly ask you to spend a minute to fill it in. The recording of this presentation will be available in a few hours. You will receive a link to the recording. And if you join the webinar through LinkedIn and YouTube, you'll receive a link to the short survey now and the link to the presentation will be posted on our event page in a few minutes. That will be all. Thank you for your participation, and I hope you enjoy this webinar. Have a nice day.